Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about jazz for peace. And I have a special guest today named Rick, and he's on here to really share his movements and share the reason why he started this, because this is really curious. It's a real thinker. So, Rick, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay, thank you so much for thinking about me. Um, where to start? You
Wherever
know,
you want to start.
okay, we'll start right at the beginning. I came out of the womb and into kind of a musical family.
Okay.
My grandfather actually was he was kind of well known for coming over on a boat from Italy and bringing nothing except an accordion and a wine press.
Okay, those are essential.
And
Alrighty.
that's really all you need when you come to this country. Anyone who's thinking of coming, a wine press and an accordion will do. So he
Hmm.
kind of got famous as a musician during the bootleg era, back in the old days, those roaring, whatever they were, when alcohol was illegal.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was carrying his torch a little bit because I just thought he was such a special person. Anyway, it led me to becoming a musician. I also had parents who played music and led all the way up to me being a professional musician, traveling all over the world, playing with all kinds of bands. And then I got to the point where I started to record my own records. And I did 7 CDs in the
Mhm.
90s when we still had record stores to sell them in. And uh,
Great.
and that was fun because it gave me a chance to I was a musician, so I could kind of do anything. But on my own CDs, I got to, feature my compositions, feature my piano playing and feature my vocals. So that was a nice kind of to wrap it all up. Before that, if you saw me, you either saw me like playing the piano in front of somebody in their band, or you'd hear me in an original jazz band with my compositions or rock band, or you'd hear me in a piano bar, as like a human
Okay.
jukebox. So this was a way to just, put all those panties in a bunch, as they say in the Midwest. So now 9/11 comes along, and now I realized that I had, traveled all over the world, and I got the memo. I didn't know if the rest of the world got the memo, but the memo I got was music cuts through every kind of everything that is a barrier to human beings on this planet: race, religion, creed, color,
Yeah.
location, anything. Music breaks through, and it breaks through often in a profoundly positive way. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't have an appreciation for music and then say, oh, I hate Russian people. What are you going to do about Tchaikovsky? You know what I mean? The great, if you're, or if you're literary, the arts and culture in general, Dostoevsky, the great writer, So, I mean, you start to realize that, hey, there are greatness is everywhere in the world. We just need to bring it together, and we just need to put our best qualities forward. So 9/11 came, and I had nothing except a poem at the end of the day to show for it, because I actually had a bird's eye view of that. I was living less than a quarter of a mile from the World Trade Center. So
Oh,
I went
wow.
up, I got tipped off by a photographer who had taken pictures of me before that, who was down on Wall Street, and just called me and said, all frazzled, hey, what the heck? And I'm like, oh, let me go up on my roof and just see, some
Hmm.
idiot with a kite, who the hell knows? I went up there and I'm like, oh my God. So now I have this poem. I called the poem Jazz for Peace, and I've been just trying to live up to the words ever since. And that's what led me to a benefit concert series that helps outstanding causes, and, educational programs for the kids, and a musical instrument donation program too. So, young people and old people are, if you ever notice, young people and old people are so crazy about music. And the
Sure.
only reason that the rest of us are, to different degrees, is because we simply are too caught up with, everything else in life, and we don't allow ourselves to, realize every day how important the arts and culture are. So I'm one of those people that thinks if you really want to solve the arts and culture, if you really want to solve our world's problems, you better put the arts and culture in the starting lineup.
Yes, yes. I think what you said is absolutely right. And I feel the passion that you have when it comes to speaking about music and speaking about your story. And I love people with passion because that's what drives people and that's what gets things going. If you don't have the drive or you don't have the passion, then you're not going to go anywhere. And your music is only going to stay exactly where it started, in your house or in your room or in your head, because some people have the music but it's in their head and they won't release it out. I mean, music is such a beautiful form of art because it's like you said, excuse me, it unites everybody. Nobody's exempt from feeling that connection, that music just ties us together, and I've heard people say that music can connect souls, and can repair your soul and can like repair the trauma or the hurt that you may have feel because only music can really like touch those certain parts. I mean, what is your opinion when it comes to that, when you hear people say that?
Well, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, music is, it knows no boundaries. Music is almost like fish, air, birds. I was on one time I performed in Pakistan, believe it or not, and the Pakistan TV station came to interview me. They're called Abtak TV, and they came
Okay.
there interviewing me. And I just happened to say to them, I said, listen, we go down here and there's border crossing and there's a wall and there's people with guns and all that stuff. I mean, fish are swimming by in the ocean. They don't care about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? There's birds flying, they're just flying. They don't have their passport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no visa. And again, music is the same thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't have its travel visa because it doesn't need one. You know what I mean? The only way you can
Hmm.
stop it, which actually was a problem in Pakistan because at the time I played there, YouTube was banned.
Oh,
And, as you know, there was no record stores or stuff
yeah.
to buy music. So I had to sneak my music over through other sources like Vimeo and stuff like that, other sites
Yeah.
that you could get on the internet. And then they would get my music that way.
Wow, that is so interesting. You basically smuggled yourself in there and forced yourself on them. That is so amazing. But I bet it helps somebody because silence is beautiful, but music is something just something that's right, because silence you can get lost in it and you can literally drive yourself crazy. And to know that you started a foundation called Jazz for Peace and jazz is very relaxing, but I've had heard some people say that they just can't understand or can't grasp the concept of jazz because they feel that it's too many musical notes and too many different instruments. I mean, what is your opinion on that?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. So what I'm going to do is attempt to break that model. See, the problem with jazz, I mean, it's very vast. There's a lot of things involved, and it does depend on who you're listening to.
Mhm.
Everyone's unique, everything's unique. And what I've tried to do, because I can play very complicated, but then again, why would I want to everyone to be lost who's listening to me? You know what I mean? And be like flying over their head with everything. So rather than do that, what I do as a vocalist and a creative improviser is I will present it in such a way that holds the listener, and then when they hear it, it doesn't sound like the complexity is a problem because hopefully they're with me, they're sticking with me. You know what I mean? They didn't jump off the ship or get thrown off of it.
Right, let's not have that. But since you stated improvisation, do you mind playing us something that you
Well,
don't mind
that's what I'm
improvising?
gonna do. I have something special. We'll see, and then we're gonna find out because some of it is gonna be completely improvised. I'm gonna make it up
Okay.
right now,
Okay.
completely off the top of my head. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see now if it works or not. And what I was thinking, because you're from Puerto Rico, so you speak Spanish or no?
Yes.
Do
Yes.
because I don't sing in Spanish, but I sing in Portuguese. So that's kind of close, right? So and I've
Yeah.
never done a Portuguese song yet on a podcast. And I've been on a lot of podcasts, but I've never sang anything in Portuguese to my recollection. So this will be the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a song that people are familiar with, your
Okay.
American listeners. Killing Me Softly is from the Roberta Flack song. Everybody should know it. Now I'm going to go into something that no one's going to know, even me, because I'm going to make it up. Okay. And
Okay.
basically, it's a free improvisation. I call it free JA, mainly because the word jazz I found out in Haiti is JASS. It's a Creole word, and so it's misspelled. So I took the Z's off because it's misspelled. I took the S's off because nobody knows that that's the correct spelling. Now I have free JA, which is something I can stand for when it comes to things like, the need for journalists to report on what they see, things of that nature. The being against the bombing of civilians and all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. So, Jazz for Peace is for these things. So now I have that to get that out of the way. And then I'm going to sneak into this little thing called Manhã de Carnaval, just for you because it's in Portuguese.
Alrighty, I'm
If you don't
excited.
understand it, nobody will because, right?
No, I got the gist of that when you said that. Yeah, I want to be able to repeat it back because I'm not good at Portuguese,
It's
but
close
I
enough,
did.
though.
Yeah, it's close enough where I can understand. Yeah. Go
All right,
right ahead. I'm excited for this.
let's see what happens. Okay. I have to switch something here to. I heard she sang a good song. I heard she had a style. And so I came to see her, to listen for a while. And there she was, this young girl, a stranger to my eyes, strumming my pain with her fingers, singing my life with her words, killing me softly with her song, killing me softly with her song, telling my whole life with her words, killing me softly with her song. Mein Ja, taub und infinita, mein Jahr. Na vida manova, canção. Canta dos outros olhos, teu riso tu mas pois lá de ver um dia em que verás das cordas do meu violão que sou teu amor falar dos beijos perdidos nos lábios teus, canta meu coração, alegria voltou, tá feliz na manhã. Deus e amor. Desse amor.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
You can see yourself feeling the music and allowing the music to take over. And it's truly something beautiful. I love seeing artists get into that zone. You know, I think that's the one reason why I like the music, the Disney movie Soul, because it has a jazz player and a piano, and it shows them in the zone and how that he got lost in the music, and that's exactly what I thought of when I seen you get lost in it and allow it to take over. It was just like, wow, it's beautiful seeing it in person, seeing someone really put their soul into it, because I could feel it. And then when you transition to the Portuguese, I was able to pick up some of the words and I was able to get it. And I was like, oh wow, that's actually pretty beautiful. And and you can just see the difference, and you were able to make that transition. And I was just like, wow, this is talent. You know what I mean? That's talent, because not a lot of people can do that, you know. Not a lot of people can first put themselves into something like this, you know, and then to know the notes and just allow your fingers and spirit to just take over and just play something truly, truly amazing. I mean, that you wouldn't be able to catch me doing that. So I guess, like, I know you said that your grandfather was into music and your parents were into music, but why jazz? I mean, out of all the genres, I mean, you could have chose rock, you could have chose blues. I mean, you could have chose anything. I mean, why jazz?
Well, you know, one thing I like about jazz is that after the if you ever Google, actually, you can Google, it's crazy. You Google my name, which is Rick DellaRatta, and then you put famous quote, Rick DellaRatta famous quote, and this thing comes up on Google, and it's something I said in it's something that I said in an interview shortly after 9/11, because I wrote the poem, and then the country was closed for 2 weeks. Right when the country opened, I had to get down to a jazz festival in Savannah, Georgia, and I was the headliner at it. So there was 8,500 people, and I was going to read my first poem to 8,500 people. And I felt so bad, because you got these people, Edgar Allan Poe, all these great poets, right? And nobody would read their poems when they were alive. Here, man, I only wrote one stupid poem, and 8,500 people are going to hear it. And I read the poem, Jazz for Peace. Pretty much the only poem I ever wrote. I mean, I am a lyricist, but, you know, I read the poem, And so when I got back from that, the phone was ringing from these people that, because it had reverberated, people were crying and they talked about it. And oh my God, he read this poem, and oh wow. And this guy called me up to interview me. And in the interview, I just happened to say, I said, listen, if we were to just as a species embrace our greatest qualities, you know, creativity, artistry, humanity, intellectuality, if we embraced our greatest qualities as people, we would have a better chance at avoiding the behavior that leads to destruction. Just off the top of my head, you know, just what the thoughts in my head. The guy was he's listening, I'm talking. And that thing got lifted. And that's all over the place. That's a famous quote. Now you see it with like Einstein and all these people. You know, I have one famous quote. I mean, you know, famous quotes websites are amazing because you see all these people's famous quotes. But I have one, and it's on there. Anyway, that quote, that statement does embody the art form of jazz, because jazz has all of those emotions, right? It has happiness, it has sadness, it has joy, it has, you know, rebelliousness, it has, you know, it has freedom, it has intellectuality, as you know, the complexity you brought out. Well, that's a lot of intellectuality that goes into that. And all of those qualities are in jazz. So with jazz, I do have like the whole, you know what I mean? I got the whole package in terms of, human emotions. Yes. I get everything in once. Otherwise, I'd probably have to make the concert like 7 hours long, to get all of my emotions in there.
All right. I mean, there would be no intermission. Do not interrupt the man.
Exactly. People have to bring sleeping bags. He's not finished yet. It's been 8 hours.
No, he's still on the road.
Right. But no,
I love it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So the thing about it is it's also embraced all over the world. It's spoken all over the world. People know it, and it's a great outlet for my improvisational creativity and all that stuff. And like I said, what you see me do is I take other styles of music and I kind of package it around the jazz so that people can, so that people don't get lost or whatever, hopefully.
Yeah, I didn't get lost. I was able to stay on track the whole entire time. And I think that's something that, not a lot of people do have. Unfortunately, they don't have that concentration or that understanding that what you're projecting out in the form of your art is real, because it is your emotions, it is your trauma, it is your experience, it is your love, it is your joy, it's your peace, and I think this type of jazz for peace, what you created, is the most peaceful type of protest that anybody can possibly think of, because this is what we need to come back to. If you want to protest peace, this is the best way to do it, is through art, through music, through literature, through whatever that is your form of art. I feel like that is the best way to stand up against anything that you may be against, because it represents your struggle and what you've gone through. And there's so many people who can relate to art, because so many people are struggling. So many people have trauma. So many people have so many situations that they're still having an issue dealing with. And I think this is a great way to do it. And I appreciate you coming on my show. This is such an honor to have you just play and share your opinion and your perspective and your thoughts about this, because this is needed. People really need to think about this. People need to think, especially when the arts are getting devalued in school systems and in the education system. We need to stand up for this and realize this is important, because our children are suffering and they're going through struggles, and the best way to teach them to express themselves could be art, could be music, and music has been one of the stories that a lot of people say is that's what helped me, and that's what helped me survive and get me through so many things. And I think this is really an important message to come out. And I guess to start wrapping up the show, what would be some great words that you can leave us off with for anybody who's listening or who's really thinking about this? What could be some lasting words you can leave off with?
Well, one thing I'd like to say, the thing I love about your show is, let's think about it, and there's no doubt about it. You said it perfectly. People need to think about the fact that When you've got something so backwards, a lot of times the problem is you need to reverse it upwards. You know what I mean? And what you said about the arts being beaten down and all that stuff, and then you wonder why there's so many problems. Music is a known stimulator of the intellect. So if you've got test scores that are failing in schools that you hear about all the time, but you took music out of the schools, I wonder, how, you know what I mean? It's an easy solution to these problems. A lot of them is simply to reverse the paradigm. And what you can do with the arts, it's real simple. The arts is our recovery back. That's our way back. Because you can say things with the arts and with music that you can't say with words. Sometimes you speak with words, somebody gets offended, but you can say it with music and they're like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? And so what I do is I use the arts to help outstanding causes with a fundraising model that I combine called an empowerment tree. And by helping outstanding causes, we're able to reach all of the people that outstanding cause is servicing. So we're able to reach far more people than just the cause itself because of all the people that they're reaching. And honestly, this is the way back. And what you said about peace is that, my job as anyone in my position would want to do, you want to take the mantle and, someone's giving you the baton, like all those great peace people from Martin Luther King to Gandhi to, John Lennon, whoever they are that have brought peace. They're giving me the baton and I need to run forward with it. And then you have these great musicians, the John Coltrane's and the great jazz musicians and even the great pop musicians, rock musicians, Bob Dylan or whatever. They've given me the musical baton and I need to run forward with it. So my way to take what they did and run forward is to unite, the great the world-class arts and culture with a peace model, which helps outstanding causes that are making our world better. So putting those two together enables me to now run further down around that track. You see what I mean? That they already run part of the way down so they could give me the baton and now it's my turn to run.
I like that. I like the way that you say that because I feel like it represents an endless run that the next generation has to pick up that baton, the following, where it won't die, and I think that's the beautiful thing with what you said. And just like I said earlier, you really did make my podcast better just by providing your perspective and sharing your thoughts on this because it's needed. It's most definitely needed. And if anybody who may be listening wants to know more about, excuse me, his foundation and all that Rick does, I have his lovely photo on my website. Just go to mitzythinkthink.com. You can find him there, a direct link to his website so that you can really dive into this, especially if you are someone in the arts and they have a cause that they need to help and to project out into their community. Maybe this is the green light. Maybe this is the sign that you needed for assistance because, if we do this together, man, so many lives can really be touched. So many lives can be changed by just thinking about something in a different perspective. So that's what we have for today's show. Always, always, always keep thinking, you guys. Never stop and stay safe out there. Bye.